Hi guys, I thought I would do a little update for the start of Taxol and also about my port insertion, which I had done the day before I started Taxol. Sorry, I got a bit of a croaky throat this morning. So, I'll start with the port insertion. So, I had my port inserted on Tuesday of this week. It's now Thursday. And I had it done in the hospital where I'm getting treated. And basically, in and out for the whole procedure was about 4 hours. So basically, you start the day fasting from, for me, it was from 7 in the morning. And then I went in and presented at the hospital at midday. And then when you go in, they just do your obs, the usual blood pressure, temperature, etc. Talk you through the consent and ask you a zillion times if you have any allergies and to confirm who you are. And then I got changed into a gown and went pretty quickly into, just outside the operating theatre where I met with the anaesthetist. So I had mine done under IV sedation, which I think is also known as twilight anesthesia. So it's very mild anesthesia. It's sort of like a lower level general though, like, cause so you will be, well, for me, I was asleep for the majority of it. So I wasn't sort of consciously aware of what was going on, but you're a lot more conscious and able to do things than if you were under general. So, and there's less sort of side effects of it when you wake up and stuff. So for me, I sort of fell asleep within a few minutes of them administering the IV sedation. So I was laying there kind of getting ready for the procedure. They were kind of hooking things up and they did a little ultrasound on my neck to find the artery, I think it is. And then they kind of talking to me and I sort of slowly slipped off. And I woke up towards the end of the procedure, and that wasn't scary. It's not like I woke up mid with things in me and stuff, but they were still finishing up and then putting the dressing on. But I was just really chilled and relaxed and I couldn't feel anything painful. So all in all, I think it's about an hour or half an hour, maybe even the procedure. I think it's half an hour to kind of get everything set up and started and to get the IV sedation going and me to fall asleep. And it was about half an hour for the actual procedure. So I woke up and then recovery. I woke up really quickly and I felt fine quite quickly. They do an x-ray, I think a chest x-ray to check that this is in the right spot, or something like that. And possibly maybe just to check that all this area is okay, because obviously when you have surgery to this area, there's always a possibility that something internally can get impacted. So they did that and that was fine. And then after that, I stayed in recovery, just having my obs monitored every, I don't know, half an hour or something for 2 hours. Kind of felt overkill because I think I could have been ready to go much earlier. I was just sort of in the bed talking to my mum. My little boy came to pick me up and I was just playing on my phone and stuff, but I felt fine. In terms of discomfort, as the evening kind of went on, it was a bit stiff, and I think I just felt like it kind of goes into your neck, and you kind of feel a little bit like you don't have that range of movement. It's not really painful, it's just more tender and a bit uncomfortable. And I think because it's for me, it's an unknown. I didn't really fully understand exactly what's going on here, and it would hurt from here right down into where the port is. I think it was just more the unknown that makes it more scary. Like, not scary even, but just uncomfortable. So I couldn't really sort of do this as much the first day. I could have done it, but it was a bit painful. And I took some Panadol the first night, and even sort of moving around in bed was a bit hard, like getting up and stuff, because you brace yourself with that sort of area. When I was coughing, I could sort of notice, even now still when I swallow, I can notice just a little, it's not, again, I wouldn't even call it discomfort, but a twinge. So mine also, because my port had to be accessible for chemo the next day, they left the needle in. So I think it was a bit more cumbersome. There was more stuff there. Now it's quite sort of minimal now. It's just got one sort of dressing here and a dressing here, which apparently can come off probably later today or tomorrow. It's quite clean underneath. So all in all, not a big hassle at all. Probably a little bit more uncomfortable than other surgeries because you're not on heavy duty painkillers afterwards. But everything I read was within 2 to 3 days you'll feel completely fine. And I'm now at 2 days and I feel pretty fine. Like, unless I really prod on it, it doesn't really hurt or feel uncomfortable. I don't really notice it's there anymore. So definitely well on my way to recovery. So that was the port insertion. And yesterday I had my first Taxol with the port. So it was a slightly different experience because up until now I've been having AC and it's been through IV, through a cannula insertion. So not having to be poked and prodded so much was nice. There were a few more procedures around the port. Mine had lots of dressings on it, so I had to have the dressings removed. They have to initially test out the port that the blood's coming out, that it's, I can't forget what they say, but yeah, the blood can come out of it, and then they flush it, and then they connect you to the drip, and then eventually to the Taxol. Had the pre-meds as always, had the obs done, had that whole procedure with the port done, like flushing it out and etc. And then the Taxol, they start incredibly slowly because of the risk of, or because some people have allergic reactions, so they want to really monitor that quite closely. Also, because it was my first Taxol and they didn't know how I would react, I had some, I think, hydrocortisone as well, hydrocortisone as well, which I don't think I'll need in subsequent sessions of Taxol. So it took about 2 hours for the Taxol this time, where it would usually take 1, and that's because they do go really slowly to start with and then they sort of slowly up it. So that was a bit frustrating because it was longer than AC, the whole procedure from start to finish yesterday, but it all went well. I didn't have an allergic reaction, so from next week, it will be a lot quicker. The only other thing with Taxol that's different to AC is I was wearing the ice mittens and ice booties. And they were mildly uncomfortable when I first put them on. Because I had them on, I couldn't really play on my phone and stuff because they're quite cumbersome things. I can take a picture later, but they're big mittens. And so I was also still kind of fairly tired and I'm just being a bit run down just generally from having an infection, having the port inserted, obviously getting over AC. So I pretty much dozed and I woke up and my hands and feet were kind of clammy. The coolness had kind of worn off because it was 2 hours. So I think that was probably a bit too long to wear them for, or to expect them to be cold for. But like all in all, wasn't a terrible experience. Wasn't as uncomfortable as I had imagined. I had just had a blanket on me to kind of deal with that. And how did I feel after Taxol? Fine. Really felt like nothing's happened. And that was generally the case with AC for the first few hours, but I'd find that by the evening of AC, like probably about the 6 hour mark, or maybe even earlier. Yeah, but no, about the 6 hour mark, I'd start to feel nauseous and not be that so interested in food, where I didn't have that with Taxol at all. Also, didn't feel the hyped up feeling. I don't know if the pre-meds are different, but I definitely didn't feel that same sort of hyped up steroid feeling that I usually feel after AC. I don't know whether that's just a one-off and I will next time, or because I was just still tired anyway from everything else that was going on. But yeah, I didn't have that. And this morning I've woken up, it's day 2. Usually day 2 of AC, I feel okay and I'm functional, but I'm still a little bit foggy, maybe a little mild headache, definitely still feel sort of some nausea and some disinterest in food. But this morning I felt really normal. I have felt like eating. I have eaten and normal breakfast, and my mouth doesn't taste terrible. Like, it's not as bad as it was in AC. And definitely don't feel foggy or anything. Like, I'm up, got my kids ready for school with my mum, and done the school run. I'm about to go and do a little bit of work. So far so good. I know it's only day 2, and usually with chemo, day 3, 4, 5 are where you start to feel maybe a bit off. Well, at least with AC, that's when it was. With Taxol, I've heard maybe day 3, 4 might be the days. But so far so good. I'm hoping that this is what Taxol is going to be like. Probably the only other thing that I was going to mention about Taxol is my meds. I had a whole cocktail of meds for AC, 2 different nausea meds, the dexamethasone for the first few days. Obviously, you have the Neulasta injection, and I had lorazepam to help with sleep, which I never used, but it was always there. Whereas the pharmacist came to me yesterday for Taxol, and I just have one of the anti-nausea meds, which he said, use if you need to. You possibly won't need too many of them. And it's the metoclopramide, the sort of the milder of the nausea meds that I had with AC. So there's no dexamethasone, there's no Neulasta. Yeah, it's really funny. I don't have a whole cocktail of medications for once that I have to take. I'm curious to see whether I'll even need to take the Pramin or the metoclopramide. I'm hoping I won't. I hope I have no nausea at all. That would be wonderful to just feel like I could go back to normal mostly. I won't hold my breath. I know obviously that Taxol could be cumulative, and I have heard that people do feel achy and run down over time, but that it's still not as bad as they see. So far so good. I still have my eyebrows and my eyelashes. I feel like they thinned a little bit, but it could just be because I'm just not putting makeup on at the moment. And I also had conjunctivitis, so my eyelashes were a little bit screwed from that. But I know I'm expecting that they will probably come out during Taxol, but I'm also expecting that eventually my hair will start growing back even towards the end of Taxol, which is so exciting. I know it will only be fluff, but it'll be something. But yeah, so far so good. I will follow up with you guys at the end of the week and let you know how the whole first cycle went. Bye.